Hey there my fellow intellectuals, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kyle. You may have noticed something different today about this video, which is the fact that it is being shot with my new camera. Hopefully you can tell that because I think it looks way better than my previous videos. I'm looking really forward to making great content for you guys, specifically on aspects of graduate school, whether it's, stuff happening in graduate school currently for you guys or the graduate school process. I hope that I can be a decent resource for you all. Now, as a side note, I just want to make clear that this is primarily for those of you who are in the United States doing a PhD in STEM, though I hope it will still be helpful for those of you who are not in STEM or not in the United States. I still think that this advice is widely applicable. So, this video is going to be on 8 questions I asked potential research advisors in graduate school. Now, some of you may know that I switched my emphasis in graduate school during my first year, and I had to somehow find a new subfield and a new advisor in that time. And so, in order to do this, I had to email several professors from different subfields in physics, and I asked them if I could meet with their office and have a conversation with them. And this is where 8 of these questions come in. Now, before I tell you these 8 questions, I just want to emphasize that, the advisor, your advisor in graduate school is like one of the most important parts of your graduate school experience. Your advisor can literally make or break your experience, which is why it's so important to go in knowing, or maybe not go in knowing, but just identifying who you want to work with and making sure they're a good fit for you. So I have been told in the past that it's not totally dissimilar from a marriage, your relationship with your advisor, where you have to sort of be on the same page and you sort of need to communicate, not sort of, you definitely need to communicate with each other about your guys' goals, both individuals, but also as a mentor and a mentee. So without further ado, I'm going to tell you the 8 questions that I asked potential research advisors in graduate school. So my first question was, are you looking to take new students? Now, obviously, this is a very important question because if they're not looking to take new students or if they're just out of space, then you're kind of out of luck because you just can't really just barge your way in unless you have like your own source of funding. They might not advertise whether or not they have space in their group or not. So it's really important for you to find out whether or not they actually have space. So asking them directly is the best way to do that. The next question is, how many students do you currently supervise? So I wanted to ask this question to find out whether or not this was a big group or a small group. And I know that for myself, I didn't really want to be part of a huge group being like maybe 4 or 5 plus graduate students being mentored by the same advisor, because I wanted to make sure I had really good quality time with my advisor. And I ended up picking someone who only had 1 student at the time who was leaving, and after they left, I was going to be the sole member of that group, which was kind of intimidating, but it ended up working out fine for me. The group has now grown since then, and I'm really happy with my group. I just wanted to show you, these are actual notes I brought in. I brought to show this at the beginning, but these are actual notes I went in and wrote down. I had the questions written down here, and I had the professor's responses written in a different color, like in red here, or like in blue in this case. So I just thought I'd share that I actually did go in, I sat down with these professors, I asked them the questions I'm telling you about right now, and I wrote down the response to help gauge whether or not I thought it was a good fit. The third question I asked here is, are your graduate students funded mostly via fellowships, GSRs, or TA-ships? So I asked this question because I wanted to see how likely or unlikely it was for me to be a TA if I ended up joining this professor's group. Because some professors already have money, others don't, and some professors are better at getting money than other professors. It's just how it works. Some professors are really active. They're like, yes, I want to get all the money I can get from my graduate students. Other professors are like, you're on your own, just TA, do whatever you need to do to get money to survive as a graduate student. So I wanted to be with a professor who I thought was proactive in getting money. So asking this question was a way for me to gauge what kind of professor I was talking to and whether or not they were really proactive in getting more money for the group. The fourth question I asked is, what is the procedure to join your group, and can I do a rotation with you during my first year? So this is like a 2-part question, but I learned that in my first year of graduate school that there are some groups who require you to do certain things before you can become a formal member of the group. Now, some of these requirements include doing a lab rotation, so that's where you join the group on a short-term basis, like maybe a quarter or a semester, depending on the school term system, and they'll give you a small project for you to become acquainted with the field, but it's often something very small and maybe just supplementary to something someone else is doing. This is all just for you to gauge whether you like it or not, whether they think you're making good progress in their field or not, and just is a way for you guys to feel each other out, see if you think it's going to be a good fit. Other requirements include that I was told was doing a presentation in front of the group. So some groups I've learned at UC Irvine, what they'll make you do is they'll make you give a presentation about your former research that you've done in the past and present it to the group, and then the group will come together as a collective and essentially vote on your status. I've heard stories where that can go poorly, and I was warned to watch out for groups that did this. Not all groups that do this are necessarily bad or not good. It's just that I've heard that there can be drama, as you can imagine, with those kinds of procedures. So just bear in mind if there are procedures like that to join groups. So the next question that I had asked is, what are your past graduate students doing now? And I was told in undergraduate that the best advisors are those who keep track of their former students, and especially those who can help guide you through the postgraduate school phase of your career. So your advisor, oftentimes, if they're a good one, they can write you letters of recommendation for your postdoctoral position, or maybe just put in a good word for you for your next job if you decide to go into industry and not into academia. And I thought that the professors who I vibed the best with were those who could tell me right away, oh yeah, my former students are doing this, they're in academia or they're not in academia, they're at this firm or they're at this institution. Being aware of what their former students were doing shows a level of care and diligence and just overall a sign of a good relationship with that former student, and that's something that I could look forward to myself. Number 6, how are new students trained in your group? You or senior graduate students? So the reason for this question is to just get an idea of who was going to be the primary person training me in the beginning, because for those of you who do research, you know that the beginning is probably one of the toughest times during your graduate student career, because that's just when everything is new. Like, you don't really know the ins and outs of the research, you don't know the literature, you don't know the lingo, you don't really know how to use the equipment maybe, you may not be familiar with the programming code that you might have to use. And so having someone who can guide you through that process is extremely important. But, professors are very busy people, and they may not have the time to give you that level of teaching that you may need at the beginning. Whereas senior graduate students are closer to you in the sense that they were in your position not too long ago. They're probably more familiar with the stuff in the lab or even the programs that the people in the group use, because sometimes the professor has sort of distanced themselves or has maybe forgotten or just hasn't practiced those skills in a while, and they'll be a bit rusty on it. Whereas the senior graduate students, they're working towards a PhD, so they're really into, and they should be aware of all the ins and outs of what you need to do to succeed. So that's the main reason why I asked that question. Okay, so the 7th question I asked is, what makes a student a, quote, good fit for your group? Now, the rationale for this question is that I wanted to see if there were any common qualities or characteristics among the former PhD students in the group, or maybe not just PhD students, just graduate students in general in the group, whether or not they left with their master's or left with a PhD. I just wanted to see if I shared any of those common qualities with those successful graduate students, and if I did, then I thought, okay, maybe this group is good for me, because the professor thinks that these students share these traits, and I see myself having those traits myself, and if that's the case, then this might very well be a good fit for me. Okay, and last but not least, the 8th question I asked was, May I attend group meetings? Now this is a very simple question. This was just to see whether or not I could just see the group's dynamics firsthand. Now, I have been told by people in different groups that their group meetings may not be the best use of their time. Maybe it's a place where their advisor just rambles on and no one really gets a chance to speak, or no progress is made towards any particular goal. And hearing that, I'm thinking, wow, that's kind of like a red flag. Do you really want to be part of a group like that? And maybe some people just want that. Maybe they just want to have laughs and jokes with their advisor, and that's totally cool. Some people want to have different things, and obviously I want a certain outcome when I go to group meeting. And for me, I want to be in a group where during group meeting we talk about research progress from everyone, and everyone gets a chance to speak about what they're doing, what they hope they'll be doing, and just where everyone sort of stays on track for the most part. And so, getting to see group meeting is a really important time to see all these things firsthand. So those are the 8 questions that I asked potential research advisors in my one-on-one meetings with them. I hope you found these useful. Obviously, there's a ton of more questions that could be asked, but this was enough for me to identify a good group for myself. So I really hope that you find it helpful. I hope you can add your own questions to this list, and hope that you can find a group for yourself to join in graduate school if you are, doing that. So again, thank you for watching. My name is Kyle. Please comment, like, and subscribe if you found this helpful, and I will see you guys later.